Expected. is almost certainly from flight MH370. The plane disappeared in March 2014. The two pieces washed up more than 100 miles apart. And a duck, which lost both feet to frostbite, has been fitted with a new pair, made on a 3D printer. Philip the duck was rescued in the US state of Wisconsin and was going to be put down until a high school technology teacher agreed to try and make a new pair of flippers with his class. Philip is now practicing walking on his new limbs, which do look a little bit like wellies, at an animal sanctuary.
BBC Newcastle, where sport lives in the northeast.
Here with the sport.
Good morning. Newcastle boss Rafael Benitez says he thinks Manchester City have an eye on the Champions League and he hopes the Magpies can take advantage tonight. A victory would take Newcastle out of the relegation zone. Benitez told BBC Newcastle he's pleased his team's starting to perform better.
As a manager, sometimes you make mistakes and still the players, they make the difference and you win games. So I like to work and I like to have an idea how to improve player, how to progress, but in the end it depends on them. So in this case, I think the credit is for the players and also for the fans, because both together they can make the difference.
Captain Fabrizio Colaccini is still injured, as is Daryl Yanman, but Kevin Mbabu is back in training. BBC Newcastle's Mick Lowes and John Anderson will bring you commentary from St James's Park later. Kick-offs at 7:45 and build-up starts at 5:30 on Total Sport. Meanwhile, Sunderland forward Duncan Watmore's told BBC Newcastle it felt good to make his return from a 10-week absence in such an important game. Watmore came off the bench and scored the third goal in the victory at Norwich.
You know, we're not going to get complacent or anything like that, but I think you've got to use the momentum and use it positively to take it into the next few games and then make sure that we build on it and don't let it become just a one-off win. We need to build up on it. We've got a couple of tricky games and good teams to play, so we've got to be ready for that and hopefully we can do that.
Elsewhere, Spurs won 4-0 at Stoke and are now 5 points behind the Premier League leaders Leicester. Dele Alli scored twice, as did Harry Kane.
Leicester had a tough game, dropped a couple of points, and we're ready to kind of put the pressure on, and we think we can do it.
Kane's in the area on his right foot, curling it in! Brilliant! Brilliant once again from Harry Kane, who scores for Tottenham, his 26th goal of the season.
Championship leaders Middlesbrough go to second place Burnley tonight, 2 points separate sides. In League 2, Nottingham are to Everton and Carlisle host Luton. It's a key night for Wild Spartans and Brest. Winning title in the final of the season, they're 2 points behind Darlington. The game in Wales Still did premium bonds.
Yeah, very exciting.
You won 25 quid on the premium.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah.
This is a bit deeper. This is you look into all aspects of all the money in your life regularly.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, you are...
That's a decision I've made.
You love it, you
I
enjoy
may not
it.
get very good interest returns on it, but yeah.
All right.
So, and I use contactless. You don't use any.
I don't use that, and I was just had a chat with Joyce, who's with their local WI, so you'll hear that after 9 o'clock, and she'll tell you how scared she is of technology. She needs to see who she's dealing with when it comes to money. She's used a hole in the wall once, and that was inside the bank. What about you? Let us know if you're scared of moving. If you have moved on, we especially want to hear from you to give courage to others like me and Joyce. 01912326565. How easy was it? What was it like? How safe do you feel? And when did you move on when it comes to contactless payments and that kind of thing? 01912326565.
So that's all to come after 9 o'clock. We've mentioned the papers this morning. The front page of the Times reads the end for celebrity injunctions. All of the papers are covering this story. It's that the Court of Appeals lifted an injunction which banned the publication of the identity of a married celebrity who's taken part in threesomes.
Judges say he still can't be named, though, in case he wants to appeal to the Supreme Court. A little bit earlier, I had word with Joshua Rosenberg, who's a media commentator.
Certainly the press are delighted with this, but what the Court of Appeal said yesterday is that in many cases claims like this can survive. It was argued on behalf of this celebrity that there are plenty of people who don't know who he is, and talking to your friends, some certainly know who he is and some don't. I think the point is that once something gets into the internet, Twitter, and some social networking, as the court said, it was a hopeless task for the claimant's lawyers to stop it going any further, and they have to accept the reality.
Well, what kind of arguments could be something that that would extend?
Well, the argument was that plenty of people know about it. The lawyer for the celebrity said, imagine somebody going into a newsagent and ordering a copy of the Financial Times, and he or she sees an adjacent newspaper with this name in the headline. That would be the first time that that person had known about it. But the court is being realistic. It's saying that, in the real world, once something gets out, there's nothing that can be done about it, except, and this is a very big but, if this person's name is published, assuming that there's no effective appeal to the Supreme Court, then it's possible for the person to claim damages from news organisations for breaching his privacy. Now, I don't know whether he will or not, but there is still a financial penalty available.
Well, what is the point in taking out an injunction if it only works in the UK? I mean, this stuff's been splashed for, right?
It has, but it remained confidential for 11 weeks. It was only after somebody published it in a magazine in the United States and was picked up online and picked up by newspapers even in other parts of the United Kingdom, certainly in Scotland and in the Irish Republic. It was only after that that people began to think they knew who it was, and the newspapers went to court to get the injunction lifted. So the injunction did work for 11 weeks, but it's a risk because, of course, you draw attention to something that might not have got very much coverage in the first place.
Are there any injunctions that work worldwide?
It's not really possible to have an injunction that works, particularly in the United States, where they draw a very firm line against interference with the freedom of the press. Obviously, there are things that you can't publish in the US, official secrets, even those have been breached. But it's very difficult because in fact, you have to go to every jurisdiction in the world. And in the old days, before the internet, that might have worked. These days, it's very difficult.
That was Joshua Rosenberg, so yeah, it's still mysterious here. Elsewhere, it's been all over the papers. How long will it last? 09123265565. Come on, you 10-2 teaser.
Tuesday's top stories